Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today is going to be another Q&A video. You guys seem to really like these, and I absolutely love doing them because you guys have some really great questions. So for this video, I've accumulated all of the common questions that I've specifically gotten about reverse dieting, post-show binging, in the psychological effects and how, eating different foods than when I was like really coming into the show, how that's affected me. And I don't think that this video could have come at a better time because last week was Eric's birthday. And so I've got some really fresh on the mind experience with all of this because currently I am reverse dieting. I'm pretty sure, let me see how many weeks. I am 5 weeks on my reverse diet and I'm feeling really good. My calories, I know this was a question, but my calories, I'm still carb cycling and my low days are around 1600 calories and my one high day is around 1900 calories. And I've scaled back my cardio to just 4 times a week at 20 minutes, incline walking. So it's been a really fun reverse diet. It hasn't been perfect at all, and I'm gonna, explain why here in a second. But essentially my weight has been stable over these last few weeks, and that is the power of doing a very slow reverse diet. In the last Q&A, I explained what reverse dieting is, so if you haven't watched that video, definitely go check that video out. So I'm really excited for this video because based on all of the questions, especially about overeating, overindulging, all that good stuff. I recently have had a reminder of how my body responds to this because last week was Eric's birthday and we had the best time. We ate such good food. I definitely ate foods that my body was not used to, but I do not regret a thing. It was amazing. We had a couple drinks and it was, it was such a good time. So one of the things that I wanted to talk about, because I did have a question about this, is that I have Hashimoto's. So typically my diet, I always avoid gluten, I'm dairy-free, low sugar. I always choose foods that are anti-inflammatory because that is what my body responds best to. And so anytime I introduce any of those foods, I do have a reaction. I get really inflamed. I essentially retain a lot of water, and for a typical person that may recover after like a day or two, it takes me 4 to 5 days to recover from something like that. And also with Hashimoto's, you have a hypothyroid, and so when you overindulge in calories, it takes your body a little bit longer to, find homeostasis again. And so I get a lot of questions about like why I don't do cheat meals very often or why I don't eat like junk food. And that's essentially why, because I know how it makes me feel. And on occasion, like birthdays or Christmas, like heck yeah, I'm going to be eating the good stuff, but I already know how I'm gonna feel and I already expect that to happen over the next week. So with all that said, I wanted to actually give you guys some of my top tips about recovering and bouncing back from overeating or eating foods that your body is not always used to. And so the first tip that I have is you need to listen to your body. There is no set guideline that is going to get you personally back to where you want to be. You really have to listen to your intuition. And so if you overeat late at night, especially in carbs, you may wake up incredibly thirsty. And so the first thing that you need to do is hydrate. And so I always drink a lot of water the next morning. And if I'm feeling really hungry, I always make sure my first meal is very high in protein. With that said, if I wake up and, I don't feel like I should be eating just yet, then I normally push off eating until a little bit later into the day. That does not mean you need to do a 24-hour fast to recover from what you did the day before, but you can listen to your body intuitively. So if it makes more sense for you to eat closer to like 12 or 1 p.m. versus have like a typical breakfast, that is completely fine. But I always make sure my first meal is really high in protein. The next thing is, and I probably should have started with this, is that after you have a night of overeating, whether it's for an occasion, stress eating, emotional eating, you just have to plan to get right back on track the next day, and your body's gonna recover and you're gonna be fine. Like, you just need to learn to let go of the guilt and just expect that your body's gonna have a rebound time period. And that's okay. You just need to expect it, but plan to get back on track the next day. So those are like my top tips as far as like nutrition and, you know, accelerating you getting back on track. Now, I know that you may be thinking, well, what about exercise? Well, definitely work out, but it does not need to be a punishment workout. You don't need to spend hours doing cardio, but you should have a lot of energy, so hit your workout hard. If you got energy to do cardio, do some cardio. If you have energy to clean your entire house, clean your entire house. Like, you can absolutely utilize all those extra calories that you ate, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But you don't need to work out to punish yourself for, you know, enjoying yourself, because that is just gonna create like a really bad and vicious cycle when it comes to binging and then fasting and that type of stuff. And as a competitor, it's really, really common to overeat a lot and to, you know, do a lot of cheat meals because it's after the show and you don't need to be on such a regimented diet. But for me personally, I don't deal with that anymore. Like, I used to, but I know that a lot of my habits with that were psychological, with like emotional eating and everything. And so for me personally, I haven't had any issues with not doing cheat meals or having like binge episodes, nothing like that. I used to many years ago, but not anymore. And a huge part of that is with Hashimoto's, I know how I'm gonna feel over the next week, and to me, it's just not worth it. Like, it's just not worth it. You do it enough times to know how it's gonna be, and the highs are not worth the lows. That's me personally. So I hope those tips help you, but the number one thing is like, just plan to get right back on track the next day. Let go of the guilt, don't punish yourself, just move on, move forward. Life is life. Like, it's gonna be fine. And I feel like it's really important for me to share these things, because even though I am a fitness coach and a fitness competitor, I'm still human, guys. Like, I'm still human. I'm still gonna stress eat. I'm still gonna emotionally eat. You know, I'm gonna have the occasional cheat meals. I'm human, and I'm not even gonna pretend that I'm perfect. And so back to the reverse dieting. It hasn't been perfect because I got really sick, and then I've had, you know, birthdays, concerts, that type of stuff. So it hasn't been 100% on point, but my body has responded really, really nicely. So I'm actually really, really happy with where I'm sitting at, you know, 5 weeks post show. Okay, so I want to get into this Q&A because I have some really good questions that have to do with what I just talked about as far as reverse dieting and overeating, especially like the psychological effects. So the first question was, how hard has it been switching from a show-ready diet to an everyday stable diet? So for me, it's actually really, really easy because anytime I do a full day of eating, you guys see that I essentially eat the same things because I know how those foods affect me and how they make me feel. And I will not compromise feeling good and having a good training session for eating foods outside of what I know is going to make me feel good. And so things that have gluten in it or really high in sugar, I'm not even tempted by. And so really going from a show-ready diet to an everyday stable diet has just been a slight increase of the foods I was already eating. So gluten-free oatmeal, eggs, egg whites, almond butter, rice cakes, rice, chicken, that type of stuff. I would say that the biggest difference is that I have a little bit more wiggle room with foods that I have to cut out like a few weeks before a show. Like, for example, cashew milk, almond milk, coconut yogurt, those types of things I do not eat close to a show. Way more about basics going into a show, you know, cutting back on stevia. And so now I don't have to like be as careful with those things. So I would say that that's the biggest difference. So it's, you know, really not that big of a deal. The next question is, if you always eat clean 95% of the time and never want bad food, is it a problem for future binging? I feel like I've kind of already addressed this, but I will say, like, as time goes on, like, I may have more psychological cravings, especially for like ice cream or froyo. But you know, in those times, if I really want to make ice cream fit, I'll make it fit. I don't struggle with binge eating. I may emotionally eat and eat a few hundred calories more, but never like a full episode of like going through an entire, you know, package of Oreos or boxes of cereal like I used to. So I don't do that anymore. So it's really not an issue for me because I have the mindset of I want to set myself up every single day for success. And so yeah, it's all a mindset for sure. What is your biggest tip on reverse dieting? And this is such a good one because the biggest tip I have and the biggest piece of advice that I have is you have to stay focused. You have to take your reverse diet as seriously as you did your diet. And I know that I know, it is so hard to stay focused when you know you have like a little bit more leeway. But if you don't stay focused and you are, you know, really eating off plan, you know, it's going to not be as strategic. And so my biggest piece of advice is stay focused and take it as seriously as you did your deficit. I can't emphasize this enough because this actually brings me to another topic I'm very passionate about, and I actually talked very in depth on this in my last podcast, and that is fat loss is a phase and not a lifestyle. And so it's absolutely necessary to go from a deficit to a deficit break throughout the year. It's important that you give yourself a break from always being in a deficit because you're not supposed to be hungry for the rest of your life. You're not always supposed to be dieting. More often than not, my experience with observing women is that the longer they're on a diet, farther they are away from their goals because they're not able to sustain it. They may do really good for a few weeks and then fall off. Without having like a strategic plan of like, okay, I'm gonna be in a deficit for 12 weeks, I'm gonna hit it really hard, then I'm gonna reverse diet out into a deficit break. It's way easier to put your foot on the gas and follow through with it when you know that you're going to be training in phases. And this is something that's not talked about very often, but it's so important, and I'm super passionate about it, and I'm really glad that I have gotten all the questions that I have because I don't talk about this as often as I should. And because I am doing this in real-time experience, I'm really excited to be able to share with how I'm feeling and how it's working. I want you guys to really understand that your training year-round is supposed to be strategic. I mean, you guys are bombarded every single day with fat loss, weight loss programs and all that kind of stuff, and nobody ever talks about, you know, what you do once you reach your goals or when you've done it for 12 weeks and you need to take a break. And most people go all in or all out, and it doesn't have to be that way. I know I talked a couple months ago about a program that I was creating called Bikini Builds, and Bikini Builds was inspired by all of the questions that I have gotten about once I've reached that point where I'm like, okay, I'm ready to take a break from dieting. Like, what do I do? What game plan do I follow? So I created Bikini Build with all of my best workouts that I've used to build my shoulders, my glutes, my legs, my abs, and I put it all together to support your deficit break. And I've also included for the very first time an actual guide that teaches you how to reverse diet and how to strategically use a slight surplus so you can support your lean mass building goals without having to put on a bunch of unwanted body fat. You know, so many women are afraid of like looking bulky, so they stay in a deficit because they are afraid that if they do eat more, they're just gonna, you know, put on 20 pounds. And again, like, it doesn't have to be that way. And so I am legit so freaking excited about this program. I have never seen anything out there like it. Literally a program that is going to very smoothly and strategically take you out of your diet, especially if you've been dieting all year. It's time to take a break. And I love thinking of deficit breaks in terms of season. So for a season, it's like spring, summer, you're gonna be in a deficit, and then fall, winter, you can go into a deficit break. And that way, when you hit your spring, summer session again, your body is gonna be able to respond even better. And so I'm really excited to not only be able to put out this program for you guys to use, but to formally educate you on how to do this yourself and how easy it actually is. So yeah, Bikini Build is out finally. It's been so much fun seeing, like I said, all the women who have already opted into it and how excited they are to have a game plan for fall, winter, because nobody wants to diet around the holidays. Like, nobody does. And so you can actually do it very, very strategically. I am just so passionate about educating and being realistic, showing you the realistic side of reaching your goals and how life is not gonna be perfect. But if you just get right back in track, if you don't quit and you keep going, you're absolutely gonna reach your goals. But if you don't have a game plan, it's, you know, there's a lot of self-doubt. And so that's why I do what I do. I absolutely love giving the guidance and education. And I felt like it was time to put a video like this out here because I'm in the middle of a reverse diet. I'm out of my deficit and I love it. Like, it's been so nice to take a break from hitting the gas so hard. And I know that my body is gonna respond even better once we hit the gas again. So yeah, I felt like this video was just really important to do and to put out here. And if you liked it, please like this video. Leave me your thoughts in the comments below. I always love hearing from you guys and how I can continue to show up here for you. I currently don't have a show date yet. We are just continuing the reverse diet. We're continuing building, and I'm just gonna continue to show you guys, you know, the ins and outs of my journey. It's really fun to be able to give you guys content that you guys love and enjoy. So if you guys have any ideas, please let me down in the comments below. I want to thank you guys from the bottom of my heart for investing your time in watching these YouTube videos and supporting me on my channel. And if you follow me on Instagram or listen to my podcast, or if you have put your trust in me by opting into my programs or coaching, I just love you guys so much. It is so humbling to be able to do what I love and to share and help you guys as well. So I hope you all liked this video and it helped address a lot of your questions about reverse dieting, overeating, binge eating, and understanding that you don't always have to be on a diet. Again, fat loss is a phase, not a lifestyle. I love you guys so much. If you're interested in Bikini Build, make sure to check out the link in the description. I hope you guys have a beautiful day, and I will see you in the next video.